Welcome to the Fame. My name is Lisa. I hope everyone had a wonderful day. And in this video, we will take a tour of all the homes of Sister Wives stars so far, from Utah to Flagstaff. Please take your time to watch the video until the end. At the time of our first encounter with the Browns from TLC Sister Wives, the entire family of more than 20 people was housed collectively in a massive home in Utah. In addition to Cody Brown's 4 wives and their 18 children, the family became famous after the premiere of their reality show on TLC. There were downsides to being open polygamous. In 2011, the polygamous family encountered difficulties and decided to relocate to Las Vegas, where they could continue to practice their religious beliefs without interference from the government. Despite the fact that Las Vegas was more accepting of their lifestyle, the family found that living in 4 separate rental homes caused them to grow apart. Cody was concerned about the future of his family and decided to invest in a cul-de-sac so they could all live together again. The family spent about $400,000 on 4 houses, one for each of the 4 wives, so that they could all live close to one another. Despite the fact that each house has a similar floor plan, each wife made minor modifications, such as changing the color of the kitchen countertops or rearranging the windows, to add her own personal touch. All of the houses had stucco siding and were built in the Spanish style popular in Las Vegas. Cody and his family relocated to Flagstaff, Arizona in 2018 for a second time. When they decided to move again, their children had mixed feelings about it, and the move itself was a nightmare. On the Coyote Pass property, Cody and his wives had settled into their new rental homes in Flagstaff, where Cody tried to persuade his wives to move into a large custom-built home with him. Rather than go through with the idea, they decided to build their own homes on Coyote Pass instead. However, the sale of their Las Vegas properties was delayed, so the construction of their new homes was delayed as well. Christine's decision to break up with Cody in November made things more complicated. As a result of the increased distance between the 4 women, tensions within the family surfaced during the filming of their TLC reality series. The wives' homes are shown at the end of the video. The house in Utah is the first. In 2010, when we first met the Browns on TLC, they were living in a massive house in Utah. The house was made up of 3 separate apartments, one for each of the 3 wives and their families. However, due to Utah's anti-bigamy law, which made it a felony for anyone caught practicing polygamy, the family decided to leave. In Las Vegas, this is Mary's home. The Browns purchased a cul-de-sac in 2013 and built 4 McMansions for each of their 4 wives, one for each. The floor plans of the houses were the same, but each one is unique. Las Vegas, this is Robyn's home. Although the exteriors of each house are unique, they all have a similar Spanish vibe to them. Christine lives in Las Vegas, and this is her house. There were no other houses in the neighborhood with a turret or a dry moat like Christine's. This is the Las Vegas home of Janelle. There is a common layout, but Janelle says she was able to personalize her home by making her own changes. The living room of Mary's Las Vegas home is shown here. Her living room was large and airy, and her furniture was arranged in a novel fashion. Robyn lives in Las Vegas, and this is her living room. Although she added a piano as a personal touch, her living space was a bit more plain. This is Christine's Las Vegas living room. A warm, cozy atmosphere was Christine's goal when she decorated her home. I went with browns and other soft muted colors. Simply put, I wanted it to have a homey atmosphere. This is Janelle's living room in Las Vegas. A country western theme with lots of horses and cowboy motifs was her choice for her home. The kitchen in Mary's Las Vegas home can be seen here. The kitchens of each of the wives were decorated in a different hue. A light brown for the cabinetry and country rustic finishes for the decorations were Mary's choices. This is Robyn's kitchen at her Las Vegas home. She opted for a more subdued color palette, but with plenty of red accents. Christine's kitchen in Las Vegas is shown here. For her kitchen, she opted for black cabinets, and she proclaimed it to be the best of the other wives' kitchens. The kitchen in Janelle's Las Vegas home can be seen here. Deciding on a diner aesthetic, even though her kitchen was still a work in progress, was important for Janelle. Flagstaff is Robyn's hometown. As they await the start of construction on Coyote Pass, Robyn and Cody decided to make this house their permanent home in Arizona. There is a separate formal dining room to the side of Robyn's living room in her home's layout. During the coronavirus pandemic of spring 2020, Robyn took advantage of her outdoor patio. Christine lives in Flagstaff at this address. Because they all relocated in 2018, Christine is the only one of her fellow sister wives who has been able to stay in one place. When visitors entered Christine's home, they were greeted by a large kitchen with an island. On the other side of the kitchen, Christine's living room, Robyn and she filmed this scene where Christine expresses her dislike for living with Cody, her sister-wives, and their children in a single home. Here we have Christine's Utah home. Christine now lives in a duplex in Utah, just a few minutes' drive from her daughter Aspen and her husband Mitch Thompson's home after moving from Flagstaff and splitting from Cody. Flagstaff's Janelle's house. For the majority of their time in Flagstaff, Janelle and her children lived in this one-story ranch-style house. In March 2020, as the coronavirus pandemic hit, Janelle filmed a video call with Cody and his sister-wives to show them all what life was like when they were all quarantined. Janelle lived in an RV on her family's Coyote Pass property before returning to Flagstaff for the winter. In Flagstaff, this is the residence of First Mary. When her sister-wives moved to Flagstaff in 2018, Mary had the worst luck of them all. A few days after Mary moved into her new apartment, some of the neighbors complained to her landlord about her lifestyle and said they didn't want to live there. Mary said in a 2020 confessional that she agreed to move out, but ended up having to return to Las Vegas because she couldn't find a rental in Flagstaff in such a short period of time. Second, Mary's Flagstaff home can be found here. When Mary returned to Flagstaff from her brief sojourn in Las Vegas, she struck gold. 4-bedroom home with modern rustic vibes is where she'll be living for the foreseeable future. Mary said she paid $175 more a month for her second rental, but she received nearly 3 times as much space. Additionally, the house had an elevator that made it easy to get to every floor, and the master bedroom was located on the 3rd floor for privacy. A second primary bedroom was also included in the property. With a stone fireplace and an indoor waterfall, Mary's living room was the perfect place to relax. The dining room and living room were placed side by side. The working waterfall in Mary's home awed the Brown children.